I think step one would be let's break down the traditional hierarchy. Inside your school, there is this thing with the admins and then the teachers and then the lunch people, the auxiliary staff, and there's like this perceived value on the role. Everybody in the school, no matter what type of school you're running, is important. An integral part of the way that your school runs is just an action. It is not a title, and everyone in your school can lead. And so, why we have this perceived notion that the administrator is the end all be all. Now, keep in mind, I'm an administrator in my school, and I work with infant, toddler, preschool, and school age. Even within our own early childhood education community, there is this hierarchy. If you run a childcare center, then you're considered more of a business person than somebody who owns a family childcare center, which to me is ridiculous. Or if you're an infant teacher, you're not as valuable or as important as a preschool teacher, because a preschool teacher is a real teacher. Or when you're a preschool teacher, you feel like a kindergarten teacher is the real teacher. We're all educators and we're all very important. And so we have this frustration around we don't get respect, especially in the early learning field. We don't get the respect we deserve. But we sometimes even do it to ourselves. And I know that might be controversial. But even when you introduce yourself, do you say, I'm an early childhood educator? And if you do, that's awesome. But we're not all using the same language. And wouldn't it be beautiful to have a world where we just say, I'm an educator? Does it matter if you're a middle school or a college professor? It doesn't, because we're all working on building foundations in our students. Now, I can't imagine that a student could go to a middle school without all of the preparation that has been done beforehand. Same for the preparation that we do in high school, getting students ready for college. And so I think the respect needs to come within our own communities. And often it isn't. I can tell you when I meet folks outside who are also in the industry and I say, I am an early childhood educator, and they say, you work in a child care center. Well, I do, and I'm proud of that, and I don't feel bad about that, nor should I. Because I know what happens in early childhood centers across the world is integral to their development. Why we have to keep reiterating the same message for some of us is infuriating. And so I don't want to keep doing that because I don't need other people to validate the work that we do. We need to stop validating ourselves, which I think is really important. And it has to start within our four walls. And then once you've got that mastered, we need to get out and start to have these conversations within our greater educational community. One of the reasons I started this podcast and started connecting with others in the space, because I felt like we needed to start to break down these barriers and this hierarchy. And I think some of this really caught my eye as I started in the school age field. And school age is honestly even seen in the hierarchy of early education, oftentimes even below an infant and toddler teacher. And again, we are all valuable. We all bring something unique and special to the table. And we do it in different ways because that's what's age appropriate. And so I beg you today, after watching this video, what things can you do to break down the hierarchy in your school? Are you respecting your van drivers, your lunch folks, all the people who help make your school work? Right? When you come in the morning and your lights work in the classroom and you have the supplies that you need, somebody made that happen for you. And so they are an integral part of the way that your school runs. You cannot run a classroom without lights, right? So I know you get the point. So what I want today is I really want us all to start using the same language. Let's just start calling ourselves what we are, which is educators. We don't need to put a title in front of it. We need to stop asking other people for validation and start doing it within our own industry. Here's a perfect example. I had a friend, her name is Kelly Tagg, and she is a public school teacher, and she was on my podcast not that long ago. And we talked about IEPs. And she said, it never really occurred to me to reach out to a child's after school program. And I'm thinking to myself, why wouldn't we be reaching out to school age professionals and asking them to join the table when you're creating an IEP for a school age child who attends an after school program? Because that's when we start to see the value, that we value their thoughts and opinions. Most school age children will go to school for, yes, 6 hours. A lot of times they're going to be with the provider before school and an after school educator after school, and summer and vacation weeks and snow days and teacher professional development days. So if we're talking about really doing what's best for students, there needs to be some continuity, and those folks need to be asked to the table. Now, how can you expect a group of people to implement an IEP, to make sure that we're giving the same supports and using the same language in a meeting that we weren't part of, in a conversation we weren't part of? And so today is the day that we all band together, we work together. Administrators, when there is a child who has an IEP, give your team time to go to the school when there is a team meeting. Parents who are watching, and many of you who work in the education field, certainly have children. Make sure that those people are brought to the table, because it's important. We need to start respecting each other and break down this hierarchy. Now, when we don't, there is like this lead of this disconnect. And that's what we're seeing now, which is why people are leaving schools in droves. And again, schools in droves across all ages, because we're encountering the same things. So doesn't it make sense for us all to come together to try to find a solution to the problem that we're having? This is a new day and a new time. The students are different, the parents are different. And for those of you watching this channel, I do not need to tell you that. You know who else is different? The educators. We have been through a whole heck of a lot in the last 4 or 5 years. I'm sure that you would agree with that. And these new students who just graduated from school, so excited and ready to be teachers, are coming into broken systems. And that's not fair. So let's understand how these power dynamics between educators, administrators, and different levels of schools, how they impact how teachers feel, the autonomy, the challenges, and we balance it back up. And leaders, I know you're tired too. So again, it's about supporting each other. Because as you see on many social platforms, there's a lot of talk about supporting your staff and your team, which of course for me is number one. But there's another part. Those administrators that are out there are also human, and they also need supports. Now, sometimes if you're in a district, maybe you get that from a higher up, but maybe you get it from others, from other schools. Or maybe perhaps you get it from just the greater educated community where educators come together. Right? It doesn't matter if they are teaching the same age group. We are working with the same families, the same children. My preschool children will be your kindergartners in less than a year. So let's have some examples of where I feel like we can really, really connect. I feel like if you do not have a connection with your local after-school program, you need to do that now. If you're an after-school program, you need to make connections with all of the schools that you service, that you have children come to your program. Now, preschool folks, I'm talking to you too. You have droves and droves of children, if your program's like mine, who will be entering kindergarten in less than a year. How are we making that transition seamless, and how are we supporting each other? And so that is really what I want us to work on. Let's work on working together at every level. Infants, toddlers, preschool, middle school, elementary school, private schools, public schools. Let's do this together because this is the only way that education is going to succeed. And so those are my thoughts today. I would love for you to leave a comment below and let me know if you agree or if you don't agree. And give some solutions because everybody is struggling in education across the country for a variety of reasons. But wouldn't it be great to know you're not alone? Wouldn't it be great to know that we respect each other, that we're willing to listen to each other, that we are a great community? Most of us come to this profession because we love people and we love teaching. We love that spark that happens when students are actively engaged in the learning process. And sometimes the teachers are the students. Sometimes the children, very often, the children teach us things. The parents teach us things. And so again, respecting each other, collaborating together is so important. So let's crush this. Let's eradicate this hierarchy of everything is from the top down. Maybe it's from the down up, in the middle, in every which way. But let's work together because I want all of us to succeed. I want all of us to be respected. I want all of us to be okay, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, every way that educators need to be nourished. Because at the end of the day, you cannot give out what you don't have. And I'm worried for our students. And I know you are too. And I'm worried for our schools. And I know you are too. And so thank you for clicking on this video. If you would like to hear more or you just enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I really, truly appreciate you. And I want you to know that you are valued by me and many others. So thank you. Have a great day.